Hello, beautiful people.
Yo, yo, yo.
Merry Thursday. Yo, did you see Anna Kasparian getting lit up on Twitter today?
Yeah, I saw that. I have my opinions on that, but I
I do too. I mean, honestly, I are we like at that point in the gender debate? Because I wasn't like paying attention. I did not give a fuck. Like I'm pretty like
I I don't
libertarian
know.
when it comes to those kind of issues.
I
But
think most of it I think knowing the Young Turks, she's probably just doing that just to be relevant.
yeah, no, that's how I took it too. I was like, okay, this is like attention seeking. This
Yeah,
is
like
pure attention
I
seeking.
don't really think that she's like I mean, it's an opinion I could see her having and to a
That's probably what
degree,
she actually thinks. She just wants to stir shit just to get.
I mean
Well,
like
because TYTs
I
they're suffering the numbers. I mean, Kyle Kalinske hit 1 mil today. Actually,
wait, I thought he's been you because he's from going down because I thought he's been over 1 million.
no, he hit 1 mil today. He hit 1 million.
Uh oh man, I haven't paid attention to that
Yeah.
show in years. He's at a
See, I
million
haven't
now.
either. I haven't either. I haven't
So
either.
okay,
Besides
because
that, besides that, but I
was
mean,
he?
you know,
Because I remember weird. He just hit a million a day. That's crazy. Because I thought him and
months later,
Door had like kind of similar numbers. But how? What's how many subscribers does Breaking Points have?
less than 1 million. Well, maybe. Hold on. The thing is that Kyle's been on there for a while.
Yeah, he's like been on
Door
YouTube for
started in
years.
like 2018, so like it's kind of like a different.
Right.
I don't know.
That's I mean,
But
good for him, I guess. But I think his commentary is like lame as fuck. So
it's
like,
garbage. Absolute
yeah,
garbage.
like just I don't know what you get out of Kyle that you wouldn't get out of Rising or no, you'd probably get more
You
out of
get
Rising.
worse. I think you get worse. Yeah, because at least at Rising you have like some.
Yeah, Brianna Joy Gray.
Yeah, there's some people that are on there that kind of push back, but not all the time. I mean, I think it's the Pierre Omadar money. That's
Yeah,
my
and
that's
you
my
saw
thing.
what happened to Intercept, right? Speaking of
Yeah,
Omadia.
yeah. Did you see my
Yeah.
beef with Ryan Grimm? Oh yeah, I sent you that.
Yeah, but then there was that there was like apparently and then Aaron Yate put out that thing where apparently the bigger issue
Yeah.
is that
And then
one
he
of the
got
board
buzzsawed.
members
I came in first though. I came in first. He got buzzsawed hard though. Bro, like wait, like how do you post something like that? Like I saw that and I was like infuriated. I'm like, do you think I'm fucking stupid? Do you think we're just fucking like retard?
He
Like,
does.
what do you
He
think?
does. I think and
It's like insulting is what it is. It's like
well, and I've seen I forget, but I've definitely seen Ryan Grimm where he's definitely proven that he's like aware of like has like an understanding of theory and how shit works and like it's clear that he's like an asset. He's like doing the bidding for to get his like paychecks or like he's the definition of a fucking grifter. You know?
yeah, no, his politics shit. You can see a very like these people weren't bad years ago. You can like if you
No,
go back, you can.
I would go back to around like 2016 was like when everything started
Well,
getting
yeah,
bad.
okay, yeah. But remember when we all agreed with each other? It was great times.
Well, okay, and that's funny you say that because if it wasn't for Bernie getting the like presidency stolen from him twice, we probably would still be agreeing. Like I remember seeing this like I remember being when I was on Reddit back in the day. Like I one this guy said like resonated with me. He was like Bernie was like the biggest cuck for the establishment. All the establishment had to do was like throw us a bone, give us like some fucking like
Oh yeah, he was a
something.
compromise. Bernie was a
And like
compromise.
we would have totally been like where we are like 4 or 5 years ago. We wouldn't have had any sort of like I would have still been in that like Overton window, that little box of like between Democratic Socialist and fucking liberal. Like,
Yeah, I was a Dem suck too.
you know?
Seriously, so I mean, you could tell how far back. I mean, like I was subscribed to Asan at one point. So
Yeah.
it goes back. It goes back, man. Like there's an evolution to this. So, um, hopefully that's the point of this show here.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out how to put up a poll. I know there's a way to do it on Restream, but I'll figure it out as
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna. You want to start out with a
Yeah. So okay, so I guess we'll start off a little bit. So since we're starting off a little late this week, I was gonna do more of kind of the 2008 all over again and what's been going on with Silicon Valley Bank, but kind of seeing as
Isn't it crazy like how like quick that cycle is? Like the
well,
bank
what
like
the, so
banks crash and then a week later no one cares. It's
so
back to the same old.
the rule of thumb is, I guess it's supposed, I thought it was every 10 years or so, but I mean it's like 15 years. It's still like wasn't that long ago. I was still out of college when the last one happened. I was like almost out of college by the time the last one happened. But I think it's important to notice now that we know like it's not going to get any better, and I kind of think that they're going to slowly kind of try and like push it out, all the like things that they can do to like kind of slow down the crash. I think they're going to try and push that out over through re-election to try and get Biden reelected, but we'll see about that. But I think it's important to pay attention to where they're going with this and how they can use this kind of opportunity to kind of usher in a new way of us spending money. Mainly kind of getting into the CBDC conversation, which is like the central bank.
Yeah,
Currency.
do you think it's a controlled demolition type thing? And what is the like?
So
Can you explain that a little bit?
yeah,
Like, what would be the purpose of that for like a complete demolition of the economy? How does that
so
transition look like?
well, so it's not exactly going to be like a demolition of the economy, but they're going to make it really hard for people to pull their money out of the banks, as I have like some stuff that I'll get into. And then they have ways, I couldn't find the sources on this, but the stuff that I've seen where they're going to basically make it so any cash that we have, any like actual fiat currency that we have, is going to have an expiration date on it. One of the ways that they do that is through like negative interest rates and stuff like that. So eventually we're going to have to switch to digital currency. Like it's going to happen. So I got some stuff I want to get into. I want to start off with Michael Hudson. I think he does a pretty good breakdown. If you guys don't watch Michael Hudson, watch Michael Hudson. I think he's one of the best.
What's his background? He's an economist.
Yeah, he's an economics professor. I think I think he worked under either Nixon or somebody, but he worked in politics way back in the day, and he's just written a bunch of books since. He wrote like Super Imperialism and stuff like that. Let's see. So let me
I gotta
share
check that
this.
out. The only economist I really respect nowadays is like Professor Wolf.
Wolf. So I would say like I like Michael Hudson. Like I don't want to shit on Wolf. I think Wolf kind of like oversimplifies a little bit too much and kind of harps on the same thing all the time.
Yeah, I used to see that.
So I think I like Michael Hudson because I think he's a little bit more technical. Anyway, let's get into this. All right. Can you see my screen? With YouTube?
Yeah.
All right.
1 second. There you go.
Pop this open. So start off, Michael Hudson.
Wait, hold on. Don't do the hat. Are you like putting it on the window on like half your screen?
It's just for Brave. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do the split because it's like showing up split on the window. You see?
How do I? All right, let me see if I can get out of that. Let's see. Stop sharing.
Just make it the full screen. Just like full screen it.
Hold on a second. Where'd it go? Now my thing's gone. Now I can't use Restream.
Yeah, no, your internet, your network's pretty garbage right now. Just let it give it some time.
Just give it a second. Oh, it's frozen a little bit.
Yeah, or you can leave and come back if you want to try to do that.
Let me refresh. Oh shoot, I shouldn't have done that. Let me see.
Because you're completely frozen out.
It was like fine. All right, hold on. Let's wait it out.
Yeah. You could wait it out. You could try leaving and then come in. Just refresh everything. Just refresh the whole thing.
Refresh Restream.
Yeah, refresh the tab. Like, come back.
All right.
Hello, folks. Welcome to the Greg Show. I'm about to run a poll right now. Okay, see, now you're back. Here we go.
So let's do this. So just do
Like
entire.
magic.
Well,
Yeah, just do the entire screen. Yeah, it's like kind of hard to see. I think we literally only see half the screen.
why is it grayed out? Now it's grayed out. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Window.
If you want, I like worst case scenario, I have it pulled up too. But
Let me try this one more time.
all right.
Can you see the YouTube screen?
Yeah.
All right. So let's play this.
You're good.
Should I make this full screen?
Yeah, full screen it.
All right. That's what I was trying to do before. All right, here we go.
Oh, it's doing the half tab. It's doing the half tab thing again. It's weird.
So what does that mean? What does it look like on your screen?
It's like half the. Hold on. Oh, that's better. We could do that. Let's do that. Works. That works.
It works. All right, we'll go with it.
Yeah, you gotta turn it up a little bit. Yeah, you want me to I'll just play it because like I'll have your like notes pulled up. I know what you're
okay.
Talking
all right. Well then, I guess sorry for the technical difficulties.
It's okay. It's all right.
So all the links are there. So yeah, just start off from 1455 then.
I got it.
Dang. I'll look into that next time. How do I stop my sharing my screen?
You could be next to like a. I don't know. Maybe it's your internet or something. I'm not sure, but it's around like 15 minutes, right?
So the first one, 1455.
Hey.
So the main point that
some of them.
Okay. We'll get into it.
Are you?
No, it's fine. You can play. I didn't.
Decided. Well, let's be. It looks to me like the bank's being squeezed. Let's pull our deposits out of the small bank and put them in a big bank like Chase Manhattan or Citibank or any of the big banks that the government says are too big to fail. So you know that their money will be safe there. So there was a run on deposit. So the problem.
All right, so let's pause it for a second.
That Silicon Valley Bank and other banks have.
I just want to make a point really quick. So one of the things that you're getting in like mainstream media a lot is when they were talking about the run on the banks, they're trying to put into people's heads that it's like the everyday person, the worker who's like trying to pull money out. No, that's not what's happening. So like Silicon Valley Bank, as we was just saying, was like a commercial bank. Like all it was like corporations and like really big money holders like Peter Thiel, like those kind of people. So when they're doing a run on the bank, they're pulling out millions upon millions upon millions of dollars at a time. And so if you have a bunch of 1%ers who are all at the same bank and they all decide that they don't want to invest in this like bank that's going to shit, they're all going to pull their money out and they could be like hundreds of millions of dollars all at the same time. And they'll just throw it into another bank. Like
what caused the initial like disruption though? Like what caused? Like I, as far as I'm aware, this was like very much similar to like an SBF situation almost, like where like everyone just like pulled out their money at once and the money they like.
Well, so
the bank is just like using trades on like stock bonds.
If you want, you can pull up that other video, the TikTok that I posted. But basically, it was just like these really wealthy individuals or these.
I watched this. This is really good. This is really good.
Mm-hmm.
When you sent this to me.
Super helpful.
This is great. This is great.
100,000. They borrow it from the Fed window.
And Ben
they
Norton
get
is
10
awesome.
times the amount of our deposits that we put into the bank. They then get 10 times the amount. They then take that 10 times the amount and they put it into treasury bonds or something else that's going to give them a yield of 7% or 6%. While they pay us what? 0.0000 nothing percent. Right. And then what happens? We get hip to it and say, hey, Mr. Silicon Valley Bank, can I have my money back? Oh, we don't have it right now. I want my money back. I don't have it. Everybody, I want my money back. Give us our money back. Hold on. We got to go sell the treasury bonds that we invested in that now are upside down because the rates are through the roof. And I don't have your money. So what has to happen to their Ponzi scheme that I would have went to jail if I did that? They get bailed out. Mr. Biden comes up and says, oh, I'm going to print more money. I wonder why he's going to print more money. To devalue your dollar even more. Because guess what they're doing next to you? They're going to centralize banking. They're going to own crypto. They're going to regulate everything to be digital. So this is the first step to doing it, and they're going to own us. We got to wake up, because that's what's happening. And next, there's a war going to go on between China or between Russia, and we're right in the middle, right? And then you look at these companies like BlackRock. Does anybody ever hear of BlackRock? Or Vanguard? Oh, how coincidental. Since 9/11, you own everything. You own everything. You own Pfizer. You own Moderna. Just coincidentally, but we don't know who the hell you are. You're never on TV. But you own Apple. You own Facebook. So you own everybody's identities, everybody's information. You own Smith & Wesson. You own manufacturers of guns. We're going to war. It just seems you're everywhere at the right time to make all the money. And you're the biggest company in the world, but you're never on the news. We never hear about you. Yeah, man, we got serious problems.
Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good 2-minute little bit of fear right there. But
where's that from?
I just saw it. It just popped up on my feed.
No, I saw that too, and I'm wondering, like, well, who is that guy? Because I would love to have them as a college professor.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely like a pretty good breakdown right there. But he's just kind of giving a high level overview of kind of like what we can expect. Like it's not the conspiracy to kind of see how they're using this opportunity. Like here's the thing is like if you have a brain that like you can't think that like we're sitting here able to like look at this stuff and see this stuff happening every 10 years. And then there's people who work at the Federal Reserve, like Jerome Powell, the people who work at the fucking White House, people who work at Congress, and they don't know what's going on. No, they know what's going on. So like maybe it wasn't expected that it would happen in 2023. Maybe it wasn't expected that it would happen with Silicon Valley Bank, but like they know it's going to happen. And like, it was only a matter of time. And I got some other slides in there about how it was going to be within like these couple of years that there was going to be a shift towards CBDCs. So the fact that we're going through another crash right now, you can kind of like, I think you could maybe argue the point that they're either letting it happen or they're going to try and steer it in a direction where they're going to compel people to use CBDCs. And that's kind of the bigger picture anyway. So what is digital currency? Is that kind of what we're getting into?
I guess so. I mean, like, unless you're getting into it, because like, I have the Michael Hudson videos still.
I'm kind of getting into it, but let me just kind of tell you a little bit about central bank digital currencies, I guess. So basically, the government saw a good opportunity with crypto.
They want to federalize crypto, basically.
Yeah, they basically want to use blockchain technology to handle currency. Like they want to basically get rid of fiat currency altogether and just use crypto. And so the reason they want to do that, and I guess for the sake of where we are right now, you could actually pull up this video. There's one you see the president of the European Central Bank fooled into talking about insane control with CBDC. Sophia. So this is Christine Lagarde. She's the president of the European Central Bank, and she got freaking played by some Russian comedian who was like pretending to be Zelensky and got her to make this crazy omission.
Isn't there like a pair of Russian comedians that do that? They did that.
Apparently, I don't know anything about this guy, but like it, for all I can see, is it looks authentic to me. I like tried to double check it, and like people were claiming that it's legitimate, and like it does coincide with the bigger thing that they want to control everything about how we operate, how we use money. And so the best way to do that is make it so that we have to operate on the blockchain so they can see everything that we're doing. And
do you think that it's going to be regulated in the same sense that it's so like valued in like a sporadic or like, extremely highly variable way? How Bitcoin can like shoot up and shoot down in like a matter of
it's
like,
really
seconds?
I think it's too soon to tell, but one of the things that I saw while I was researching this, so we're kind of jumping all over the place because you're asking questions, which is fine. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm just
but-
curious. I mean, like,
No,
you know,
but-
you
but-
looked into
so-
this more than me. So, like, I mean,
So as it stands right now, so at the end of last year, last November, okay, the New York Stock Exchange, the New York Federal Reserve, sorry, technically the New York Federal Reserve, participated in a pilot program for what's called wholesale central bank digital currency, okay, which is basically like the capitalist version of CBDC. So all the transactions that are taking place ostensibly on like the stock market or on global trade, something that like the petrodollar would be doing, you know, stuff like that would be done on like the wholesale central bank digital currency.
which
And
that's going down too, like Saudi Arabia.
yeah, well, that's the thing that like Jerome Powell was talking about in front of Congress last week, or I guess, yeah, last couple weeks ago, about a week and a half ago. He was saying like, well, you don't need Congress to freaking do central bank digital currency to pass legislation to do wholesale digital currency. Let all the capitalists play with it. Like basically, so it's really concerning that they're trying to find ways. They're talking to the Federal Reserve Chairman, figuring out ways to try and basically usurp the will of the people and just force us into using central bank digital currency. You know, oh, you don't need Congress. That should be really alarming when they're telling us, you don't need Congress.
They already don't need Congress. They can
Well-
get Fed money in like a day, 2 days.
Well, but the idea of forcing everybody, like coercing us, you're going to have an app on your phone, you know, and think about what that means. So you have an app on your phone. Well, how are you going to like prove that it's you? How are you going to authenticate that app? So now this government app that's connected to the blockchain is going to have all your freaking biometric data on it. So
was it you that told me that Ukraine already has this like high speed like data, like in terms of like it's like your whole identity is on your phone?
yeah, there's stuff like that already happening. Like that was since like COVID, kind of like Great Reset type shit. But like one of the things that's like kind of like a side thing to be worried about with the blockchain shit is that they're going to want to authenticate it. So whenever you want to do a transaction, they need to have some sort of biometric data to be able to authenticate the device. So they're going to always have your biometric data on them. So that's really concerning. You already have your phone on you all the time. And people will just be like, it's no big deal, whatever. Like Amazon already spies on you. But like we're talking about the government being able to like track your heart rate, track like and they could just push a button and be like, okay, you cannot buy groceries today. Okay, you cannot like. So there was actually another link in here, and this is like why I see it. So the one right above that link, you see where it says anecdote account holders with a lot of money being restricted. Let's pull up that tweet really quick. This is kind of crazy, and it goes with what
Are
I'm
you
saying.
looking up? Were you looking at the Google Doc?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, the Google Doc.
Okay, there's a
So above
Which
the
one?
the one that says anecdote.
the Fed chair, pal.
Yeah, below that one.
All right, let's see.
So this is going what I'm saying. So pick the other one. So there was one below Fed chair that says anecdote. Yeah. And it's like 4 different pictures. So these guys could be full of shit, but like I could see this happening pretty easily, especially with all the bank runs that they're concerned about. So there's clearly people with like, so this guy doesn't have jack shit. Okay, $1,000, $1,000 That's not very high withdrawal rate. But like, check out some of these others. So he went down to 800. Now he's at 500. Check out some of the others. Daily was at 35K. Now it's at what?
$0 limit. So they can just tell you to just like you can't have your money.
Yeah, so these are people who wanted to ostensibly. So some of these big spenders, some of these things. Look at 100K down to 11.5. So these people.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so clearly, like bougie people, whatever, they have their money. But at the same time, like these are the kind of people that they're concerned about. They're not concerned about me and you, like and like millions of us pulling our money out of the bank. They're concerned about the people who are already well off and wanting to dump their money into crypto. So like you see, like they're already trying to keep people from being able to spend their money and put it elsewhere. So that's why I saw this, and like it's just kind of connecting the dots. You can do whatever you want, but like I see that and kind of going with what I'm saying, and you can play that video, I guess, with the president of the European Central Bank saying about control. but they're clearly like one of the things about using central bank digital currency is they're going to be able to limit how you're able to spend your money, how much of it you can spend per day, how much of it you can spend at a time, and they can always track it. So it's just kind of like putting the pieces together is how I
So
how
where
I
where do
see
you
something like that.
where you want from the start on this one?
I'm not worried about that one.
Oh, you want to watch this?
No, pull up the. There was like a tweet there with that one, but like you see the president of the European Central Bank, play that one. This is the one with the comedian, I guess, who pretended to be
Hello?
Zelensky.
Can you hear? Can you hear me?
I
Can
can
you see
hear
me?
you very well.
Okay, Madam President, I know there are many protests in Europe
Terrible
against
impression
the
too.
electronic
I know there is many protests in Europe. I guess.
euro. What is the reason?
We have to be ready.
No, the problem is they don't want to be controlled. They don't want to.
Yeah, but you know what? Now we have in Europe this threshold above 1,000 euros, you cannot pay cash. If you do, you are on the grey market. You take your risk. You get caught, you are fined, or you go in jail. But the digital euro is going to have a limited amount of control. There will be control. You're right. You're completely right. We are considering whether for very small amounts, anything that is around 300, 400 euros, we could have a mechanism where there is zero control. But that could be dangerous. The terrorist attacks on France back 10 years ago were entirely financed by those very small anonymous credit cards that you can recharge in total anonymity.
Mm-hmm. The question is now I think that it's a joke, like a joke that the next currency will be firewoods for Europe.
Will be what?
Tell Congress I need more money for cocaine. Cocaine.
But yeah, she's just out and saying it that they're going to put restrictions on it.
Yeah, it's this Russian comedian group. If someone knows the name of them, I know it's two Russian dudes who who do this. They did this to George Bush. I remember. If someone can name it,
Pretty amazing.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
No, so she's just kind of going with what we've already been saying. How like one of the things that they're going to be able to do is restrict how we're able to spend our money and how much of it we can spend at a time, where we can spend it. So that's really concerning. She was really frank about it, which is really surprising.
Well, that's it's interesting to see like how when they like talk to they actually talk to each other. Like remember when Neera Tanden just said like, "Oh, we'll just like fucking bomb them." Or, like,
yeah, exactly.
Or like when Trump admitted like where like he like said on 60 Minutes like, "Oh, we're in Syria for the oil." Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, like what do you mean? Like
we're in the
we're not any better.
What do you mean? Like they're just they're just full fun face about it, and like no, it's a spectacle. American politics is a spectacle.
Complete spectacle.
Yeah.
But that also, I guess the other point to make there is that this is not just an American thing that's happening. If like we could have had like 2 hours just on this, but like all over Europe is adopting central bank digital currency as well. So this is not just like us just doing it. Like it's happening. It's happening. Like it's not something where you like you think you're gonna have like cash on you a few years from now. I pretty strongly believe like no one's gonna have their hands on any cash within like 2 or 3 years.
Well, they're sort of like tied together too, because like
Europe and but I think I think depending on what your take is on like the Great Reset and all that said and like the 15.
Oh yeah, no, it's all tied together. It's like really just the West bundled into like one.
Yes.
And like really ever since the Marshall Plan, it's funny. Like I'm getting into like I'll have a video like in like a little bit of my segment later that like he talks. It's from the Odessa Solidarity Campaign, where they talk about What was the last thing you just mentioned? I just lost my train of thought. Literally, it just lost me.
I don't know. Oh man, it's
Fuck.
bad.
It's just
I was keeping
that was just lost.
couldn't have been that
Okay.
important.
You know what? It'd be great if like I could
But no,
rewind
like
live.
they're all they're all. It's like the Western. It's all part of the Great Reset. Western countries, like they're all trying to do the same thing. So it's important to know that like there is a concerted effort that they're all working together. So kind of like I think what I was just
Right.
saying was that like nobody's gonna have their money hands on any cash within the next couple of years. Like
It popped back into my head.
yeah.
So the Marshall Plan
Mm-hmm.
after World War II, America and Europe's relationship we basically like Europe basically becomes our like bitch, and they're like completely dependent on exports from that point forward because we basically rebuilt their entire economy. What happens is like when war happens, complete and total destruction. And oftentimes the IMF and then the World Bank comes in and they give you a bunch of debts that you can't pay back, and then they economically destroy your country. And then they always have that carrot to wag over your head whenever they need you to do something. So it's funny how that's happening.
I just gave my dad shock doctrine.
Shock doctrine.
You haven't read that book with Naomi Klein? It's all about fucking IMF just like ravaging countries.
No, but I should. I mean, I'm mostly aware of that from like Berlin, World War II, and like Yugoslavia. They did the same thing, and that's what they're going to do to Russia. So they're going to break it up into different states.
Exactly.
And they're going to destroy them economically, and then make them impossible to recover from. But where do you want to go next with this with the bank before we get?
So let's see. Well, I think Michael Hudson has some good points. If like you're just like, I think for a couple minutes, it's just wise to listen to what he has to say. And I think the stuff that he has to say about crypto is funny as well. So let's just keep playing until about 17 minutes or so.
It's not that they had committed any fraud. It's not that the U.S. government couldn't pay the bills. It's not that the mortgagers couldn't pay the bills. It was that the market price of these good loans to solvent entities had gone down and left the bank illiquid. Well, that is what is squeezing the entire financial sector right now. So just as the quantitative easing was flooding the economy with enough credit to inflate asset prices for real estate, stocks, and bonds, the tightening of credit lowered the asset prices. For bonds, certainly. For real estate, too. For some reason, the stock market has not followed through, and people say, well, there is an informal government plunge protection team that's artificially keeping the stock market high, but how long can it really be kept high? Nobody really knows. So the problem is that the 2009 crisis wasn't a systemic crisis. But now the rising interest rates have created a systemic crisis because the banks, by the Federal Reserve, by saving the banks' balance sheets, by inflating the prices for capital assets, by saving the wealthiest 10% of the economy from losing any of their money, by solving that problem, they've boxed themselves into a corner. They cannot let interest rates rise without making the entire economy look like Silicon Valley Bank, because that's the problem.
Okay, so that's what I wanted.
It is.
That's what I wanted to get out of it. So that's good for that portion, and then we'll play the crypto part in a second. But like the key takeaway there is that the big difference between 2008, in Hudson's opinion, the big difference between 2008 was like largely the housing crisis. It was like bad loans, subprime loans. But like the issue that we have now is it's not just homeowners. It's not just like bad loans to mortgages and stuff like that. It's the entire banking system. They've been hooking up their buddies, the top like 10%, 3%, 1% for fucking decades. And now like the crows are coming home to roost. They can't keep raising interest rates. And what was the other part he said? But basically, they're at a point where there's nothing left to give. So like that's why you see like Jerome Powell doing these things where he raised it by like 1/4 percentage point, and he's just gonna keep doing that little by little by little until eventually like he's printed out so much money that like there's so much inflation again. He gets them through elections. Like I just think like they're gonna kind of try and like slowly crash our system.
Yeah, and honestly, it's basically just neoliberal economics happening over and over and
Yes.
over again. Like it, and if you actually look back, this has happened not only in the '90s and like how many bank runs have happened through history?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
the Jamon they just raised it by 1/4 percentage point. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was getting at. Like, so I think they're just gonna, because they have to raise it, they have to get it by like what 3% or so from where it is right now, 3.5% from where it is right now. I think through the election. So they're just gonna keep pushing it up all through the summer, all through next year, whatever, and just pretend we don't notice. Meanwhile, everything's gonna get ridiculously expensive. Nobody's gonna be buying houses. Like, it's just gonna get progressively worse.
and even for the MMT people too, like inflation is like not fake. It's like, I mean,
So
MMT is like real. but
MMT is real.
inflation, yeah, but like you can you can be
the-
like an MMT person, but like also recognize inflation as like an
So,
actual thing.
but here's also the thing is that like MMT. So the way I look at it is MMT works if you're spending money into industrializing. Like if you're actually creating goods and services, if you're actually like creating
Right.
stuff, if you're generating value, that's great. But if all you're doing is creating currency to just put it into finance capital and put it into real estate, then like it doesn't mean anything. Then you are just going to get crazy amounts of inflation because nobody has any money.
It's literally just like pump. It's a Fed printing machine. I mean, they can do whatever they
it's
want.
just a money printer.
And it doesn't mean anything. It's just air. I mean, like this happened like ever since Nixon in the '70s took back the gold standard. You know, Nixon like for a Republican, like he had some okay.
Dude, he put the
things, like,
freaking one of the best things he did was, didn't he put the freeze on the freaking on gas? Didn't he make it so like gas can go?
and he started the EPA too. I mean, like, granted, he got like some like pushback from like Vietnam and shit like that. He wasn't great. He wasn't. I mean,
He wasn't.
none
Like,
of them.
he was
like,
to the left of Biden.
Yeah, no, for sure, and that just goes to show the
Insanity.
Overton window where that's heading. We're already far there.
It's like
we're
fascist
too
and
late.
fascist.
Yeah, no, we're like a terrorist fascist state. Like, what do you, we're funding Nazis. So what do you? Well, continue watching this.
Where do you go from there?
Yeah, you can't go anywhere. Like, there's nothing good coming from that. For sure.
So let's play from 35, just because
Okay.
I think it's good to get this point across. Because I don't know if you've done much with crypto, but like you don't just like buy one coin and it's like yours. It's like a stock exchange. Like most of the stuff is done like exchanges.
I one time I bought I had like maybe like $30 worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's
in
like
the-
it would have
in
been
the
thousands of
Bitcoin ATM.
dollars right now.
And no, I made like I remember making like $600 from that, just from like leaving it in there, and I
Forgetting
had
about
no
it.
idea Bitcoin was gonna blow up at the time. It was like 20 or something, but like I forgot when that was. But Bitcoin, I remember Bitcoin just blowing up, and it, like suddenly all this Bitcoin was worth like all this money. It was just like, it's basically, so it's fake. It's basically a game. You're just gambling.
Yeah. Well, let's listen to this really quick. I think it's actually I think it illustrates because we'll deposit really quick. So like libertarians love to claim that like crypto and Bitcoin is like the answer to like all the like crony bullshit that we're dealing with in the capitalist system. But like I think Hudson touches upon really well that like the system is the system, and like you can't get away from it. They're still dealing with American currency, which is still printed at the Federal Reserve. You still have like they're still investing in like the same instruments that freaking any other bank is. Like it's all the same. And so I think it just kind of goes back again to how like CBDC is like the way, like crypto used to be kind of its own thing like 8-10 years ago. And now it's pretty clear how institutionalized it is, how
I think after SBF, like everyone realized it was, so this is just a scam. It's just a giant Ponzi scheme, is what it
it's,
is.
yeah.
Anyone can start a coin. You could start mining. You could start a coin. Whatever. I mean, no, you could do like this has happened over and over again with like plenty
Rug
of
pulls.
influencers. I know.
The rug pulls.
I know. I'm sure you watch CoffeeZilla, and you know the like
Mhm.
Logan Paul shit, like his like fake NFT shit.
Yeah.
Lost. He lost. No, but he and he's not even his apology is like maybe like a third of like what people lost. So it's kind of crazy.
Damn.
This is just a fucking crypto's dumb. Yeah, I've lost.
It's dumb now, but like people thought it's hard to think like it would be nice to have a currency, have a way to exchange like goods and services between ourselves without having a government control on it. But
yeah, but we're in America. We can't have nice
but
things.
it doesn't happen.
That it just never listen. But like for all the people back in like pre 2020 who like were saying, "Oh, this is it. We're gonna escape. We're gonna escape the fiat currency forever. Finally, we can get rid of the Fed. We're gonna be our own currency, and it's just gonna be the people's currency." That all of that was bullshit. Can you? It was complete
well, it's like
and utter bullshit.
they just need to like open their minds a little bit more and realize that the answer to fiat currency is no currency. No currency.
I just love how like people love to like it's always these guys who like want to like hype up shit and then it ends up like crashing and failing. They're like mini Elon Musk's.
It's all scams. How much time do we have to get out? I think that it's going to be central bank digital currency within 2 years. Oh, get out of the United States? I don't know. They talking about wanting to put us to war in China in 2 years.
Yeah, we're right in the mid. Yo, it's Hard Lens Media. What's up?
What up?
What's up, fam? Chicago kit.
But if you're on
time,
if you're on 35, are we gonna?
Yeah.
You want to get to your other stories? This is just like a good point. Like I think Hudson makes a good point about crypto right here.
Yeah, and no, I got time.
Okay,
you're good.
So maybe you can talk about crypto's role in all of this, and of course, this comes at a time when Sam Bankman-Fried, the fraudster who ran the FTX exchange, he was exposed to the world for committing literal fraud and losing billions of dollars in really overnight.
Well, the whole mythology
literally.
and fantasy of crypto has been burst, especially with Banks Friedman. Crypto was supposed to be, they called it peer-to-peer lending. The peer-to-peer lending was the person who bought the crypto took money out of the bank and paid for crypto with a bank transfer fee, was called one peer. Who's the other peer? The other peer was Bankman-Fried, and he could do whatever he wanted with his money.
Playing League of Legends.
The crypto cover story was, we know that the economy's messed up, and we don't like big government, and we don't like the banks. So here's an alternative to the banks, putting your money in a bank. And
that's what they did. That's what they sold us on.
Government fiat currencies. Well, so people would put their money into crypto thinking this is something different from the bank. And yet it turns out, what did the companies do? If you get $1 billion of inflow by people who want an alternative, what are you going to do with $1 billion? Well, Bankman-Fried simply bought luxury real estate and gave it money to the Democratic Party and
Ukraine
for campaign contributions to buy influence. But most of the crypto was put in the Silvergate Bank and other banks, or in government securities. I mean, where else are you going to put $1 billion?
So ridiculous.
You get a bank transfer from a bank. It goes into your bank account. You have to have a bank.
And you would think, like, if you were like any other business, if you were a store, right? Like, what is the purpose of banks? the purpose is for them to store your money. So
Yeah.
when you go to a bank,
From your
and they're-
perspective.
no, I know, but like, isn't that what the foundation of what banks were supposed to be? Like, suddenly we just turned money into a game. Like, we just
I don't know. It was always my understanding that banks had a
Wow.
response. Like, obviously, they're going to invest the money, but there used to be a point where the interest rates that they'd give you was much higher than they were today.
I think we got to go back to a barter system, and I'll just store my cows in like a secure place.
Well,
We'll just
it's
do
funny.
that.
It's funny, and like, David Graeber actually wrote a really good book about debt, and he hypothesized.
David Graeber's really good.
Yeah, I think his stuff's great, but he wrote Debt, the first 5,000 years, and he argued that like credit has been around forever. It's been around forever. Like, we've been operating on credit like as long as, because like the freaking serfs never had any money, so they were always operating on credit. You know,
It's always been a debt system because that's how you
but
operate control.
but yeah, well,
like,
yeah, but at the
class-wise.
there's different sorts of debt, but as far as it's concerned with like what it is today, there's never been the kind of like usury that is today. Like Jesus, yes, jubilee. Thank you. That's what we need. We need a jubilee. And they used to happen every like generation or so, where they'd like the king would just fucking by edict erase everybody's debt. And they basically did this so that the serfs who were freaking ended up being sold off to other plantations to pay off their family's debt could go back to live with their families. Like the king used to have to declare that like all debts were done so that people could live with their families again. Like, this was like way back in the day. So like the idea of a jubilee is not that crazy. Like, things used to be so bad, and now we just have this system where instead of us basically having to be like slave trade, like sharecroppers, or what is the term I'm looking for, indentured slaves, you know, we just work forever and never see our families and stuff like that. So it's a different sort of system. But yeah, like we need critical thinking. The whole concept of jubilees is like actually like a really good idea. Like, and it's not just because I'm poor, but like jubilees make a lot of sense. And like
there's no like American version of that, right?
Not at all. No way. You can't even get out of your school debt.
Right. That's right.
Oh, he really tried to call the student debt a jubilee. What a fucking asshole. No, it wasn't just like one thing. It was like literally like every debt across the board. And it was because people were so poor, they would like owe so much money that they'd be like, okay, you're working in my cotton field freaking 100 miles away. And like the king would be like, all right, debts are canceled. Go live with your family. Dude, like, that's just crazy. So we don't like... So yeah, exactly. Crypto's a scam, but we're going to be forced to use it, and we're not going to have fiat currency for much longer. I predict within 2 or 3 years, it could be much faster than that. It could be very much faster than that. I think that they're going to be using CBDC. Like, they're going to have like people are going to be trying it out on their phones and shit like that. You're going to see adverts on TV. They're going to see that shit by the end of the year.
Oh, they already tried with the fucking
with like, Canada, didn't they?
Digital passports. Yeah, in Canada too, like digital passport. Well, also remember that's also a good point too.
Cash App's super useful.
They can literally just shut down your fucking bank account whenever they want. They can just stop you from getting any of your money.
Well, we saw that with the trucker protest, but like you're turning that on its head. You can see that like how crypto, you can control everybody's transactions, like down to like the last dollar. Kind of lost my thought, but the trucker protest, that's when they shut down everybody's bank accounts, and they're probably you can take that situation as an opportunity where like the Canadian government, American government, etc., Western governments saw it to be like, look what they can do. We need to get central bank digital currency going absolutely now. You know?
Yeah.
Like they see what's going on in France right now. Like, imagine how much harder it would be for all the protests going on in France if they weren't able to access their money. They didn't have access to their money. Like, dude.
Were there any of these? Some of these articles look interesting. Did you want to read any of these?
So let's see. So we kind of talked about them with the questions, but I would say, okay, so you can pull up the last one really quick, the Bank of Canada working paper. I didn't even read this. I just kind of wanted to bring it to everybody's attention that they've been talking about expiring currency for 2 years. And when I saw this a few days ago, it kind of blew my mind because I'm like, what do you mean expiring currency? And like I saw something on Last American Vagabond and I couldn't find it, but I couldn't find the source. But basically, like they're going to force us to use central bank digital currency. Like we're not going to be able to hold on to cash. We're not going to be able to like have debt of any like, or have like, they could make it maybe so you can't have a certain amount of money, force you into a particular class. You know, like this shit's fucking crazy to me. Like you have to spend money before a certain period of time, or basically what happens is it generates negative interest. So your money's worth less and less and less the longer you spend it, the longer you don't spend it.
Wait, and when is it? When is this from?
2021. It's over a year
Holy
ago.
shit.
So it's happening. It's happening.
Oh, it is happening. It's really going down now. All right.
Well, okay, that's true too, and maybe okay. So Milpulio kind of made a good point. This is all true. It's called inflation, which like I can see it. Maybe the capitalists just want to get away from inflation, and they can get away from inflation by having currency that destroys itself. You know, that's kind of how.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, and I just thought about this, is that like I used to play a lot of like MMOs. Like I played like Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 14. I played the Shell game, and one of the ways that like these video games, like they operate, they like do their currency, like and make sure it doesn't have crazy inflation in these like video games that have millions upon millions of people. Is they find ways to destroy the currency. They find ways to take the money out of the system, like the WoW, and like same thing, like
you know how like, in mobile games, like there's always like different types of currency.
No, it's terrifying,
like,
Pat.
It's always like
that's kind of I'm not trying to like scare anybody, but I think
I'm terrified. We're all terrified. We're all scared shitless. This is just the
cool. If you guys want to hear more of this stuff, then like I'll keep digging into it because I'm getting like good response from you guys. It's just things kind of changed because we had to keep pushing stuff back. I didn't mean to interrupt, but like yeah, okay, because like this stuff's happening.
Yeah, no, it's pretty dark, especially like when you like really get into like the nitty gritty of like papers and like.
So okay, so let's just do this certainly, Kick. If people are still interested in this, I was kind of talking over it, but go to Project Cedar. So after the video of that guy, yeah, you saw it. So we'll just go over this really quick. So this is from the end of last year. So this is like the wholesale central bank digital currency. This is what they did on the New York Federal Reserve. So they've already tested. Let me see if I can pull it up. The link actually below that, I have something there. So basically, actually, it'll be easier. Pull up the other link, the Fed press release. So they tested this last year. The end of last year, November, they ran a 12-week program for what's called wholesale. We mentioned it kind of earlier in the program, wholesale central bank digital currency, which I think I interpret it as kind of like the capitalist version of the currency. They're going to have two different types of currency. The currency that never goes to like retail places. It's like the currency you don't spend in a grocery store. You spend on the stock exchange. You spend on Forex. You spend on like export import, like those kind of like crazy transactions that have nothing to do with the average person, you know. And then they have the other currency. But for this, the Fed press release, the three takeaways. You see those three bullets there? So they already know this shit works. Now this is like a little bit of propaganda, obviously the way that they're phrasing it. But you see these bullet points a little ways down. It says faster payments in the test environment. Transactions of the blockchain enabled distributed ledger system settled under 15 seconds. So the processing payments within 15 seconds. Atomic settlement, simulated ledger network enabled atomic settlement, meaning both sides of simulated transactions were settled either simultaneously or not at all. This greatly reduces the various aforementioned risks, blah, blah, blah. So all that's saying is that they know instantly when you do a transaction that is good on both sides, that the buyer and the seller, they know immediately when that happens. Quote unquote, safer and accessible. The distributed ledger system designed enabled payments on every single day basis, supported objectives related to interoperability by enabling transactions across homogeneous, blah, 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 blah. So that's just their double speak for saying they get to use it on their platform and that it works across all their banks and stuff. And
We're
that,
this close, and I'm telling you, like, testing, like, they already tested with the vaccine passports and the digital IDs. Like, they're already trying, and thank God, like, they didn't do, like, they got enough pushback on that they didn't do that,
well,
because
there
it
was,
would have
and
gotten
there
a lot.
was, I'll come
They were
back
going
to
to
it, but
do it. They were going to.
yeah. So I mean, atomic. Think of like atomic, like your atomic clock for like your like the digital watches and stuff. It just means instant. I think like they see it on both sides immediately. But that's kind of like blockchain technology. They're just talking about blockchain technology there. But I think there were actually countries. I'm not sure if it was Canada or one of the European ones that actually, maybe it was New Zealand, that tried to adopt digital currency last year, and they got pushed back on it.
Oh yeah, no, it was like I think it was New Zealand.
I'm gonna look more into this if that's cool, because like
Yeah, no, we could always do another segment on this. And like, speaking of David
well, like
Graeber,
this is going to be stuff that's going to be coming. I think it's not like something that we're going to be able to ignore, like central bank digital currency.
yeah,
You're going to see ads on TV. You're going to see ads on fucking YouTube. Download this app. Like, start using your digital currency. You know, like,
yep, it's already here, folks.
yeah.
It's already here.
So,
But
I think that's good for that segment. But yeah, we'll be coming back to it
Okay.
for sure as it progresses.
yeah, no, I mean, and it's really a shame that we just like forgot about it in a week, and like we're just going to be facing the repercussions of this as time goes on.
I don't think we really had much of a choice in the matter, but yeah,
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm still patiently awaiting the full scale revolt. I mean, France just seems to got it. France seems to get it. But
so yeah, and I've been posting a lot about that, and I think that's probably what I'll talk more about on Monday. But like, I think that the way they're going about it is like they're not relying on representatives. They're not relying on their institutions to help them. They're like basically doing it through like union organizing, and I think that's how people need to look at it. Like it's the workers that are organizing everything. It's not their politicians. You know, it's not like people on Twitter. It's like the people they work next to. It's just different. I think it's just a different way. Like they're not caught up on like, I don't know. I think depending on how it goes down, I think people need to recognize the kind of praxis that the like French people use to achieve their ends. Because
it's also like it's not just a cultural thing. It's also like sort of like their history.
I mean, it is like, well, yeah, definitely, I would agree with that. But I don't know. I just think it's interesting how, like, have you seen this stuff where all the gas stations across the state are all like destroyed? All the ports are down. They've taken out bridges. Like, it's not like just one or two things here and just like vandalism and sabotage. Like, they're like shutting down the economy. Like,
yeah, and
they're not fucking around.
Yeah, they fucking strike at the heart. They take down like infrastructure and shit like that. There's like, people who can only like have electricity for like 2 hours a day.
Yeah. Well, like one of the first things that they did was they pulled all the power from like the rich neighborhoods and gave it all to poor people.
Yeah. And then bailout CEOs, they're coming back on the circle, and there you go. But let me transition into this segment here now. This one's like a little bit more of a personal experience. I think there was a lot of tension, and there was a lot of different going back and forth between. We all know that Rage Against the War Machine was shamed endlessly
endlessly.
And that's simply because it's like for it being a rally, an anti-war rally.
It was just an
going to
anti-war rally.
happen.
It was going to happen.
Yeah, no, that's literally. I mean, and it happened with this one as well. I mean, and this was the the supposed like alternative to a lot of these like Twitter folks, the peace in Ukraine rally, and
So let me ask really quick: how many people were at each rally?
so at Rage Against the War Machine, there was at least maybe like 1,500 to 3,000.
Okay.
This one had no more than 1,000. Definitely no more than 1,000.
It was definitely less.
Definitely less than 1,000. And you can kind of tell with so like I was gonna like, and I don't want to say like I don't want to shit on this rally either because
no, there's nothing to shit on a rally. Like it's any war is any war. That's good.
Yeah, no, and like and that's the reason why I went. Like part of it was like to show like kind of like a united front and like demonstrate like principles like similar like to what Nick Bryan did. I'll show later, but there's like a lot of people that I respected on this. This speaker list and yeah, the March 18th rally, Peace in Ukraine. And like again, there's nothing that about this rally itself that I want that like I'm trying to shit on, but like it's really more to demonstrate how like this rally was all it really accomplished was just divide the anti-war movement even more, and just to get like a feeling of like how this went. Like I left after this. This is like towards the very very end. There's like there was a lot of amazing speakers at this rally. O'Malley, Annie Chambers, a fucking legendary Black Panther, Margaret from Black Agenda Report, tons of people that I respect. Then the church speakers came on. They had a video of Noam Chomsky, and it is the most disappointing shit I've ever seen. Now, like, just to get you the energy of like how this went, watch this.
How's the energy? You have to convince me otherwise. How's your energy? Good. That's better.
She has to like talk to them like children.
We have a list of amazing speakers coming up. I have
the rest of them were good, and like and granted, like there's a lot of people, especially Medea Benjamin, who like I don't know if you've seen this, but Code Pink has been taking kind of
where she got kicked out.
Yeah, she confront more of this. We need more of this, like direct confrontation with our politicians.
We need peace talks with Ukraine now. The American people don't want to keep fueling a proxy war with Russia that could lead us to World War III or a nuclear holocaust. You're supposed to be a diplomat. Start negotiating. If you don't like the Chinese proposal, where is your peace proposal? The American people want
a great question.
Yeah, exactly.
God bless Medea, she's a hero, man.
It's like
she's so inspiring, honestly.
Well, she's like definitely
she's so fun that and I don't think the Code Pink issue at Rage Against the War Machine was necessarily, her. Medea Benjamin still went. Mm-hmm. Medea Benjamin went to the Rage Against. She was at both rallies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Medea is a fucking badass. There's a lot of people on this. They got the whole gang together. But that was sort of the problem that fundamentally that like I kind of wanted to address was that like Rage Against the War Machine was able to do something that not often, I wouldn't say like happened a lot throughout history. Like you could maybe point towards the time during the Iraq, but like I can't remember the last time in American history where you got like literal like communists and libertarians banding together to be against war, and some of the organizers on this rally, and I'll specifically point out Answer Coalition, like PSL. Like, there's people in PSL that I know that are good people. Like, they have genuine good intentions.
Yeah.
It's just the leaders of the organization are bad, and it's just like it's a scam, pretty much. And Answer Coalition has been basically gatekeeping the DC protest area for the last 10 years. It's always the same people over and over again, and that's what this was. It was just
the same people.
Rage Against the War Machine was different because it felt like
dude,
I saw all the libertarians get so excited for Ron Paul. Like, I saw someone cry. Like, it was crazy. Like,
it felt like I got the impression that it wasn't like you were like gatekeeping people from being able to protest against war. It was just like, if you would want people to not go to war, you can go to this rally and we're not going to like give you shit about it. Like, was there anybody there who was like doing identity politics and being like, oh, you're not left enough, you shouldn't be here? Or like, I don't like what you say. Like, was that kind of crap at Rage Against the War Machine?
Well, not amongst each other, but like, I mean, obviously there was a lot of like, I'm pulling up some stuff right now, but
let's see.
There was actually one good speaker from the Odessa Solidarity Campaign, and like, I want to point out, like, there was a big difference between like the content of, or at least like what the speakers talked about. You'll notice, like, and like, I posted all the, like, mainly all of the speakers to the and Twitter, but they're mostly like, notice how like every time they mention Ukraine being invaded, they have to condemn Russia in some way. And to me, I mean,
yeah. Like you were telling me about that. Like, what the hell? That's not the point.
Like that. Like, this is like this is like the problem with like anti-war messaging, is that you're fucking confusing people on purpose. Like, you're telling them that I understand that people's minds are fairly simple and they have to understand one objective. You can't be like, oh, we have to stop giving money to these to these people who are being invaded. Who invaded who is the line that they said when Medea Benjamin got heckled at the anti-war at this rally, which I could also pull up later, but it's always the same thing over and over again. We always have to condemn Putin, and it's pointless.
Well, like,
I mean, imagine
like once you do that, like, you're making the same position as like any of the establishment. You're not really taking an anti-war position. Well, I'm anti-war insofar Putin stops doing what he's doing. Like, you're in the same mindset of like fucking NATO, where you're like, oh, I gotta fucking like make sure he like gives up all the positions, and like there's like it's on the terms that America wants, instead of just being anti-war and recognizing that like that shit just needs to stop across the board. And like, it doesn't matter.
Right, exactly. Like, these are like these rallies, like, they're not like as disturbing as you think they are. Like, they're like, they have permits and like they pay for like rental space for this. Like, it's not like they're like actually like disturbing anyone. Like, hopefully we're getting out a message, but like, we can't, like, we have to ask ourselves at some point, like, what's next? Like, what are we gonna do next? Be like Medea Benjamin, who are, like, after this rally, went ahead and confronted Anthony Blinken. She's amazing, honestly. And, like, I don't even have to speak on people like Jackson Hinkle or, like, Tulsi Gabbard. And people, like, they want to demonize these people. But listen, like...
So, I think, okay, and I think... I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think you bring up a good point there, because I do think that it's important to be recognized when people and organizations are trying to co-opt you.
Yeah, but like I understand, like fundamentally, like
it's good to be aware of that. Well, yeah, be like the French. I know, but I think it's important to recognize that, like, if I was running an anti-war rally, would I like have people who like support war with China? Would I have people who like, I don't know, like I maybe would make some different decisions, but I didn't make the rally. Like, I'm just stoked that people made a rally and they wanted to fight against like endless war and like trillions of dollars going to fund like fucking Nazis. Like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I'm like honestly, make all the rallies you want. Keep making them and keep going at it, because that's what I mean. That's really what we should be doing at this point when we're at this stage. But like a lot of these speeches had almost nearly nothing to do with Ukraine. Most of them were like it was the 20th century Iraq of an invasion of Iraq. So like it was mostly about like Middle East and Africa stuff.
The 20th anniversary was yesterday, wasn't it? Or day before?
Yeah, technically.
Crazy.
I'm gonna find out. I don't know why I didn't timestamp this.
So I have mixed feelings about.
Oh, here it is.
There we go.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think there is something to be said about having consistent messaging, and like I think for all the goodwill that went into Rage Against the War Machine, I do feel like that there were elements where they were being co-opted.
It was demonized, and it was like, I mean, no, remember that guy, that like Nazi who showed up to the March for Medicare for All rally, who just like shows up. He just happens to show up at like all these like laugh. It's kind of ridiculous, and like notice like it's kind of like what Max Blumenthal said, like when during his speech they're like proudly waving the Russian flags in the air. They do it on purpose, and like part of it is like stupidity. The other part of it is, you know, but like I let me. I'll want to find this timestamp. I want you to watch. I want you to watch Noam Chomsky, and like he watch him like somewhat defend the Kiev regime here, seemingly.
Debate. Well, it's turned into fact. The United States has a definite, explicit policy. Policy is formally to continue the war in order to severely weaken Russia. It's also claimed to place Ukraine in a stronger position for eventual negotiations, or in a weaker position. Strong likelihood that
this guy should not be in front of a camera anymore.
No, he's like really like he need
some variation.
Just let him go.
He's too old for this. He's too old for this.
The rest of the world overwhelmingly is calling for a diplomatic settlement to end the horrors before they become even worse. And it will become worse.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, for Ukraine. It's already lost tens of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands. 100,000.
Severe economic damage. Severe, though it's worth remembering. Nothing like the US-British shock and awe style of war, which goes straight for the jugular, demolishing.
I think that's a fair
energy,
critique.
Transportation, communication, anything that keeps society functioning. But no heads of state visited Baghdad while the United States and Britain were demolishing it. Well, the bitter costs of war are, of course, not limited to Ukraine and to the Russian invaders. Millions are facing starvation as grain, fertilizer supplies are curtailed from the rich Black Sea region. Food prices soar along with the profits of the handful of multinationals that dominate the food system. It's all too easy to envision steps up the escalation ladder to terminal nuclear war, maybe most serious of all in the long term. The limited steps to address imminent environmental catastrophe have reversed, may turn out to be the death knell for organized human life on Earth. It's far too little discussed, but the US-British stance entails a ghastly gamble with the fate of Ukraine far beyond. The gamble is that if the demented madman
yeah, of course,
Putin faces defeat, he will quietly pack his bags, slink away to oblivion or worse, and will not use the conventional weapons that we all know he has to emulate the US and Britain or Israel and Gaza and devastate Ukraine, including Kiev and the western areas that have so far been mostly spared. A moment's thought should suffice to reveal how ghastly that gamble is. One can easily see why outside the little Western propaganda bubble, much of the world sees the war as a proxy war between the United States and Russia with Ukrainian bodies.
Yeah, like
I mostly agree with him. I think he's basically saying that like nobody really believes, except for people duped by like American propaganda, that Russia is losing this war.
It's just I mean, he has such a lack of energy at this point, and he's
That's
also
what I mean. It's like
he's not only old, but like exactly no mention of the Donbass whatsoever. He all of a sudden like point. He thinks the only narrative is that this is the problem. It's
I think that's also a good point. Is that I think that he's also being deliberate not to talk about Donbass. It's not just he's just not paying attention to his dupe. I think he's making a conscious decision because we all know Noam Chomsky is like a rabid anti-communist. So like the fact that he's not trying to paint Russia in any sort of like positive light is not surprising at all.
Yeah, and also let's be honest, Ed Sherman was the bigger head behind manufacturing consent.
So I've been told. I believe it.
Yeah. Compare that to this speech. This is from the Odessa Solidarity Campaign.
So I'm going to make this quick. What you have heard about Ukraine, and I'm also going to time it because it's always the old white guys who talk too long.
That's right.
There we go. I've been to Ukraine. Been to Odessa on the second anniversary of the Odessa massacre. At least 42 people were killed when a mob led by openly fascist.
So who's Odessa Solidarity? It's just a
trade unions at Kulikovo Square in Odessa.
So this guy, it's basically him and like a couple of guys. They actually went to Ukraine and they saw hands on he goes into how they're actually fascist, what happens
Set the building on fire, and the police.
Can you turn it up at all?
And the Ukrainian government has never allowed
maybe put on the captions.
National investigation, and 3 of us went there from the U.S. as part of a team of international observers, and when we came back, we formed the Odessa Solidarity Campaign, which you can read about at odessasolidarity.org.
I guess.
Yeah, this guy speaks really slow. I mean, honestly, this whole thing was not set up.
Have you ever seen Tex? That guy Max Blumenthal's interviewed him a few times, just the American who lives in Donbass. Because he's a good character too.
Yeah, I mean, it's time to stop placating these people. I'm done with like the soft like push on the whole anti-war thing where we have to also condemn Putin. Like that messaging is basically that's like me during Iraq saying.
I just think it's not smart to try and both sides everything.
You can't do that when you're trying to organize an anti-war rally. That's like me saying, "Oh, we have to stop funding Ukraine, but Saddam's also a bad guy."
Yeah, that's not the
Saddam's
point.
also a terrorist. Like all you're doing with that is you're just confusing people.
And you're making people take a side. And
it's not, but there was like more than that occurred. There was drama surrounding this rally that was completely unnecessary and over stupid. Like half of it was personal bullshit. But I was like, this kind of. I almost didn't go to this rally just because of PSL, but I went just to have Prince. Well, of course, it's an anti-war rally. I'm just gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
So, let me turn this on for a second. But there was a lot of personal drama that went around. I was debating not showing this, but
heck with it.
This is astonishing. Me seeing this.
We're pretty bigger than yours, I think. Nick, you really coming to this?
Hey, how's it going?
You really coming to this? Really?
Of course.
We're pretty bigger than yours, I think.
So that's what this was. This was.
I think we're pretty bigger than his was.
Why?
Yeah, that's right. How dare anyone show up to it?
That's
more than one anti-war rally.
That's like some like.
You know what that is? Like
shit.
You know what this was? Like this was a fucking dick measuring contest of whose rally is your. And I'm not. And I want to go back to what I said.
I think you made some proof. I think there's some truth to that.
I'm not making generalizations here. I'm pointing out to like specific people, like A, from the Answer Coalition, and like B, people like this who got all involved in this personal drama, who like are saying whatever this like gender bullshit argument that's going on that has nothing to do with Ukraine, and it's all like contentious bullshit. It's time to stop placating these motherfuckers because it's going nowhere. It is going nowhere. Yeah, they pretend this war started in 2022. It's all fake.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all fucking bought into it, and you can't say anything. Even Medea Benjamin didn't want to speak at the Rage Against the War Machine.
Yeah, she got talked out of it. Like, it's really unfortunate because
it's sad. It's honestly sad. Like just stop it.
We can't get together. Like, even when we all agree that war is bad, we have to find a way to disagree with each other on it. Like, why? Just like I feel like normal human beings can tell the difference between, I don't know, man. It just seems like we have to find reasons. Yeah, exactly. Drama continues. We have to find reasons to get mad at each other and to argue with each other so that we don't actually accomplish anything.
Yeah, and that's why I'm convinced that most of these people are ops, because what infiltration typically does, like in intelligence, is that they start arguments in between people.
Yeah.
And they did this during the Weather Underground. Didn't they do that in the 60s?
Well, what's that? Have you seen that? Have you seen that, like, the sheet that makes around on the internet once in a while, like the CIA, like how to like infiltrate, like it's like separate them, get them to fight about useless shit, and get them to fucking like waste each other's time, get them to fucking like put stuff off, and So it sounds like those kind of tactics would be at play, but there's a part of me that thinks that we're quite good at just like dividing ourselves for no reason, like that they kind of like it just kind of does its own thing at this point.
Yeah, and I know that they're both over now. I mean, I really just wanted to talk about this shortly because I'm one of like the only people in this space who actually went to both, and I can give you an objective understanding of what happened in both. And there was nothing wrong with this rally. I'm not saying I'm there again. I'm not shitting on this rally whatsoever, but the personal drama surrounding it was absolute garbage, and all this rally accomplished was divide the left even more.
Do you think that's
all that happened?
Was there a vibe where people
you know
were...
what?
Yeah.
You know what? Like, have fun when we need the peace in Taiwan rally. Then with 5 people, then we can have fun. Then we'll see how big the left is then. After 2 years of bickering and fighting and shit, and just going on this same cycle over and over again, showing up with the same people.
It has to be Fed tactics.
Not including. Like, why wouldn't you organize with Mises Corps and libertarians? But
because you find a reason to. Because I don't know. Like, but they're not like you can. You don't need me to tell you that obviously Tulsi Gabbard is inconsistent. That obviously Jackson Hinkle is inconsistent. Like,
yeah, and like it's not like everyone takes these people seriously, or like everyone.
And that was kind of the other thing, is like you kind of have to look at it in like the bigger picture here. Like, okay, like let's attack. Like, it's difficult to be like, okay, maybe we just need to get everybody to try and win this one war right now as soon as possible and get everybody angry at this one war and kind of forget about all this shit, forget about Tulsi and her connections to AFCOM, forget about all this other stuff, and just kind of go with it. And that's where I'm at right now, because I think that war is an existential crisis. I think that we will blow up each other if we don't end up getting put in little prisons, if 50 minutes, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I think that will happen. I think the U.S. is dumb enough to freaking start some crazy shit. So that's where I'm at, but I can understand where somebody was coming from and be like, you guys are inconsistent. I guess that, or like people who, you can see how easy it is. I'll rephrase it. You see how easy it is for people to find a reason to get offended at somebody else and to like play identity politics. And
it's right
like,
away. It's
right away. So I think even with something as widely as accepted as anti-war, and something as people should generally be anti-war. Most people should be anti-war. That's like not a difficult position. But I think that considering how easy it is for people to get set off at the little bit of identity politics, that we need to be more careful about like being prone to co-opting or finding people who have a reason to like find inconsistencies in your messaging.
1 second. Grab a charger.
Well, Nico should go off on Hinkle because he's freaking neocon. I don't think he has very good takes, but
no, he definitely doesn't. And I'm like, I don't have to sit. That's the thing. Like, I don't have to sit here and tell you that Hinkle is trash. All I can tell you is that.
But I'm just playing
Hinkle
the devil's advocate.
Is against the funding of Ukraine, and we
that's
have
that's
a specific message.
That's where I'm at.
We don't want another penny to Ukraine. We want to get the fuck out of there. We want negotiations now, and like we cannot placate to the NATO left, who has to automatically condemn any sort of
and that's where
land giving or like negotiations to Russia, that like the Chinese plan, for instance. Like they like I've seen like Dylan Burns call it like a yeah, you can, Jerome. Just DM it to me on Twitter. It's in the handle. But and I'm losing my train of thought again. But
no, I'm just playing the devil's advocate. I understand where you're coming from, and I'm more of the like, let's focus on the war that we're going through right now and like put all aside our differences. But I can understand how people will just find any reason. Like you saw, like what happened to Ritter, where he got invited, then kicked off, then invited again, then he refused to do it, and then he ended up doing it for like the
No, because like
mopping
even
crowd.
even the Mises Caucus had like problems with him because he even had like remember that he had that Twitter on that statement on Twitter where he was like, I'm not explicitly anti-war, and he wants, and you know what, that's like
Oh,
that's sort of like the agenda of some people. Like there's people who want to actively deny that Kiev is fascist, and they don't they want to pretend that like they're sovereign, and like that these people don't want to be a part of Russia, when the polls afterwards had shown that they're overwhelmingly speaking Russian speaking people
right.
who don't want to be a part of this fucking fascist government. They want to be a part of like any other sort of function that's like like not like actively slaughtering people
But
in the
okay,
street.
but that's different. Okay, so I kind of get what he's saying, but it's like he's not anti-war in that he thinks that I would think that he kind of has a similar opinion that I do. Yes, he's more like pro-Russia. I'm more like pro-Donbass. But where he's coming from is the understanding that like the war needs to go until Donbass is liberated, Mariupol is liberated, until Crimea is liberated, until till it's over, to not just stop. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with it, but I guess because he's had more of like a pro-Russia opinion, and I think that's also like a freaking it's delicate. You can't just have like the opposite opinion. I don't think that's like healthy. But
Yeah, whatever you think. I mean, we could try to transition into the AOC thing now. Since we're on the
yeah. So what, we're supposed to have a
topic of
peace
war.
in? Oh yeah, you're making the joke about peace in Taiwan. Yeah, we'll see that happens. But that's what I mean. Like, I think it's a couple of years. Like they've already been talking about the war in China. So like,
Yeah,
as
no, I
long as
mean,
they keep,
but I'm what I'm seeing is that these circles are just like, from what I witness, is that these circles just get smaller and smaller and smaller until you kick everybody out, and then suddenly you have no one on your anti. It's like what Jimmy Dore says. It's like you can't have your movement and then be like, accept the MAGA people, accept Medicare for all is Medicare for the Trumpers too.
right.
You know.
Yeah,
It's not.
exactly. It's got to be some Fed shit.
Well, I mean, it absolutely is. But like, let me. Do you remember seeing the original tweet about
AOC?
AOC? So, I mean, I just want to give like a broad understanding. I mean, I sent a link to what's his name, Richie from the Bronx Anti-War Coalition, who might hop on to talk about this one, but we'll find out. It is pretty late here on the East Coast, but let me see 1 second.
I mean, I see a bunch with the student services fair flyer. Do you just want that?
Yeah, send me that. Send me the flyer one.
All right, hold on a second. Let's see. Yeah, this is freaking ridiculous. Like this is pretty freaking unbelievable to me, because there's not even a pretense of AOC pretending to be progressive. Like there's
before we do transition, there was one article I did want to show here.
Okay.
That no one seemed to catch, but it's kind of funny. It's our favorites, the World Socialist website. The March 18th anti-war rally and the dead end of pressuring the Democrat. This is the most.
So sad.
I haven't even read this whole thing, but March 18th, coalition of organizations had a rally in Washington D.C. Other cities oppose U.S. NATO war against Russia. Behind the demagoguery and bluster, the perspective advanced by the speakers was a thoroughly bankrupt one, placing pressure on the Democratic Party, which is spearheading the war. The speeches made no effort to explain the historical background of the war or its fundamental driving forces. With variations, the line was, if anyone would wear out with the White House lawn and chant loud enough, the American president would hear them call up Vladimir Putin to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine. The people in Congress are not representing us, declared Code Pink's founder Medea Benjamin. We have to be louder and demand that they represent us in peace talks. Join us as we present the White House and Congress. Biden and the people in Congress are not escalating the war out of some mistaken policy that will shift if only if there was enough pressure. The Russian invasion of Ukraine started in 2014, and those who sought to use it to pursue military defeat of Russia, and now they're going to start it with China. So, there's presidents like Nicolas Maduro and Lula da Silva. We're just hailing these dem socks at best, and just hoping that they save the world. And really, we're just blundering ourselves into a worldwide disaster. And this is like, I'm not even giving this this article credit, because what I think this does is like, I this is just like a further demonstration of dividing. And I shared the similar criticism of the speakers not being enough about like specifically Ukraine, but I didn't like write a fucking entire article on it. Like, Jesus Christ.
Well, it's just like they're just deeply unserious people.
And well, I mean, it's people like DSA that, like,
This is why I tell
like,
people don't join organizations.
Not like the explicitly political ones, but
yeah, like, don't join the political organizations, because they're just like going to be co-opted, and you're going to have the worst takes ever.
Yeah. So
World Sorcerer's website had like some great stuff when like all the trains were like, all the like American train conductors and stuff were fighting for better wages and stuff. They had some really good content, but like they can be really hit or miss.
Yeah. So full transition into AOC now. Back to what we were talking about. But here's Richie. Richie got right in on time. What's up, man? How you doing?
Yo.
Hey, can you hear me? All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're good.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
So this here is Richie from the Bronx Anti-War Coalition, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And so we're just talking about briefly, and like, there's I feel like this didn't get like enough coverage as it should have, but AOC when I've never expected her to be this bad, but she went on a full-on military recruitment fair for Bronx high school students. Is that correct? I mean, explain. I mean, you can go into
tell us a little bit about what the kind of scene was.
Like, what do you like? Explain more about, like, what you do for like Bronx, like, how you found out about this, and etc.
Yeah. So Bronx Anti-War Coalition is a very new organization. I helped get it off the ground last year. And it really was a response to the crazy amounts of propaganda surrounding the US-NATO proxy war in Ukraine. And, there was a lot of people who claimed to be socialists, claimed to be communists, who were just repeating the State Department line, the CIA line, that, this was a not only that it was that this, assault on Ukraine was unprovoked, but that Russia is an imperialist nation, and they're, trying to, take over and these, smaller
Right.
states and all of that crap, right? And I just felt like we need to fight this propaganda, this narrative, which is like completely false. And not only that, but I noticed that I'm from New York City. I'm obviously from the Bronx. I noticed that a lot of anti-war demonstrations take place in the city. They usually take place in Midtown. They usually take place in Times Square. And, that's not really where the working class is. That's not where the poor people are. And I think that in order to, so I'm a revolutionary. I believe that the only way that we're going to achieve change is through a workers' revolution, an uprising.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and in order to do that, we need to talk to those people. We need to talk to the people that are most impacted by U.S. imperialism, and the Bronx is the place to do that, right? Because I don't want to be in Midtown Manhattan, in New York City. I don't know where. Remind me where y'all are based out of.
I'm over in Denver.
Yeah, so he's in Denver. I'm actually in Jersey City, so I'm right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
I
you're
see it. I see it all. Like I know all about. I've
Okay.
been through Brooklyn. Like I have friends in
Yeah.
Brooklyn, and I know like what.
It's been a while since I've been
I'm
there.
actually like I'm friends with Lucy, who I believe who is there, right?
Yeah,
she's actually part
and
of the network.
yeah, and I formally met Lucy like in person at the demo on Monday.
Yes, no, she's great. I met her a couple
Yeah,
times.
she's awesome. But so if you're from the New York City area, you know that a lot of these demonstrations take place in Midtown or downtown, and it's just like these really wealthy individuals that live in the area, or they'll be tourists, and it's like you're not growing the anti-war, anti-imperialist movement by holding demonstrations there. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like you're not gonna get a Wall Street guy to just stop and listen to your message, right? Like it just, for me, it was always like, why are we here? This makes no sense. Like
It's just like a minor inconvenience. Yeah,
exactly. They're just like, oh, I'm just trying to get to work, right? They're not, they're not going to, buy into the message that we need to end these wars because they're most, it's the poor and working class that are most impacted, right? Like that message will resonate in the Bronx, right? That message resonates in poor and working class neighborhoods. So
that's what makes this terribly insidious, because like it's in a poor, like marginalized neighborhood.
Absolutely. So anyway, I was actually at the demo in DC this on Saturday. I spoke at that that church venue where you were just showing the videos. And I was really tired. I did like a day trip on Saturday, and it wasn't until Sunday morning that I saw this flyer online. Probably it was Twitter that I saw it. Because I can't stand to subscribe to AOC's newsletter. Like it's just bullshit. Like
You're soul crushing.
It's like it's just so cringy. So I
So
usually
one time, one time, me and Lucy, we signed up for, like, she had like this like text we thought we had like a idea to like prank her to like her recruitment team or whatever. And we signed up for like her text message. I still get her text messages to this day. Like, hey, it's Team AOC, and like I signed up with a fake name. I think it was like Cosmo or something. And I still get those texts. It's like, hey, it's Team AOC. We're here to fight
take your money.
Yeah.
I really regret giving my phone number to Bernie Sanders. Like I definitely I fell for his bullshit in 2016 and 2020.
Oh, we all did.
We all
gave him my phone number. So now like the DNC has my list, and like I get these messages from like all these Democrats, and I'm just like I don't know what to do about it. Anyway, so I see this flyer on Twitter or social media, something like that, and I immediately text some of the folks that I know in the Bronx Green Party. There are folks that like I've met at demonstrations and things like that, and I was like, let's organize a protest to demonstrate that there's opposition to this. We can't let her get away with this. And what you were saying earlier, Greg, is that it's so insidious, not only because of the fact that 3 years ago she did this whole performance in Congress that she was against, predatory recruitment tactics online, but also, Jacobin wrote this article about, headlined like, AOC wants to get military recruiters out of school and she's right, or something along those lines. And yes, she's showing.
Yeah, I saw that. Jose posted that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I posted it too. Maybe Jose did as well. Whatever. Like, it's fine to show her hypocrisy. Like, yes, that's great. But like the damage that she is causing to these youth is like, that's what we really wanted to combat first and foremost. Like, we wanted to go outside and be at the entrance, and as the youth are like entering and exiting the building, we wanted to basically warn them that they're signing up for a potential death warrant when they're signing up to join the military. So we less than 24 hours, we organized this and we went out. Like, it literally happened so fast. So it wasn't like this like massively like well-planned thing. We're just like, let's just go out there, let's bring sound, let's bring signs.
You still got people out there. It was so good.
Yeah, we got a good amount of people that came out. Because we've been around for like, a little under a year now. So this is now like our 4th or 5th demo that we've done in the Bronx. So since this proxy war really broke out in February of last year. So anyway, we got out there and we were talking to the students as they were walking in, like just highlighting the cases of Vanessa Guillen and also Ana Fernanda Basaldua Ruiz. She has a long name and I don't want to butcher it, but these are 2 young Latina women that were murdered in Fort Hood, a U.S. Army base in Texas. And we also, one of the protesters that joined us was someone named Mohammed Latifu, who's the brother of Abdul Latifu, who's from the Bronx. He was 21 years old, only working for the U.S. Army for 5 months before he was murdered on a U.S. Army base in Alabama. So he came out and joined us as well. So it was everyone that was there was from the Bronx, from AOC's district. Many of us, including myself, were former campaign volunteers. For folks to for AOC to smear and malign us as like outside agitators,
crazy,
painting us as predators,
so offensive.
It's like we're like, it's just completely just shows how low she'll go. She's just like
pathetic,
an ultimate gaslighter. To there is just everyone's just completely fuming because she victimizes herself in that video, and that's
she talks to you guys like children. She talks to you guys like she like so as if she like has to know the. It's
like
insane.
What she got into Congress in 2018, right? Like it's not like we're all that age
I
now.
didn't think she was going to be this bad.
It's because of us that like she's where she is right now. We're all like roughly the same age, within 10 years or so of each other. Like she's there because we got the message out. So like, I don't know. I'm just like,
let's watch a little bit.
Wait, politics is so crazy because people can just like wake up and make up whatever they want to say about you, and it'll be totally false, and people will just believe it, right? They'll just believe it. So today, someone made up a rumor that me, was hosting a military recruitment fair for high school.
Exactly what happened. Just gaslighting.
Like, does that sound like something I would do?
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
No
Actually.
shade to anybody, but just me.
See, and that's crazy. And that's crazy. She's just manipulative as fuck.
Yep. She's like mentally preparing your brain.
That's crazy.
Just, like, conditioning your
I
brain.
wouldn't do that to you. Like
I wouldn't do that. Look at me. I'm AOC. I'm the good, I'm the progressive darling. I'm the DSA socialist darling. Like, I would never do that. It's just this like it's like the definition of gaslighting.
Yeah, for sure,
And
100%
and
gaslighting. But
she does what she can to like slip in like whatever smears that she has. Like watch.
Yeah.
After some of these
She was
accounts
coached
started
beforehand. 100%.
platforming and spreading,
Again with this fucking platforming bullshit. I'm fucking tired of the platforming excuse thing.
just this completely false claim, it circulated big. Like there was one account where like 12,000 people liked it. And then it started to send strangers from outside of our community, completely not from the Bronx, to drive to this high school and try to enter this high school with children inside.
Literal violence going to a high school. Violence, pure violence.
So not only are we from the Bronx, but we're teachers. I'm a public school teacher myself in the Bronx. We had like veterans that were there. We had family members of young Black and Latino youth that were murdered on U.S. military bases. We had public school parents that were there as well, just, advocating against, this like indoctrination by the U.S. military. So for her to just, paint us as these like, like I said, the outside agitator narrative, which is like a very well-known strategy to basically shut down, any type of dissent, and it's usually, criticism from the left.
And I would say like it's just like a pattern of hers is just to like make shit up. It just like it reminds me so much of when there was like the kids in cages thing, and like you saw the like fake pictures. Like that's like the energy is like she's just like lying all the time. Or like 1-6 when she said she was right there and she was over in Katie Porter's freaking office. It's just like all she does just lies upon lies upon lies. Like I wouldn't do that. Man, I would not want to be your kid.
And it's always reframing it and normalizing it as something else. It's always like, oh, it's not that. It's
not the same thing.
She calls it like a student services fair, which is
all theater.
I'm trying to understand.
As enlistment recruiters, like it's just not the same thing. They're two different.
But to be clear, like I wasn't there. She was doing military recruitment. Like that's obvious, like what it was.
That's what it was. And
like so I saw a post from Gaijin Girl that said that they were letting students in, they weren't letting the parents in. So do you know any more about that, Richie? Like were they like basically trying to get kids to like get enrolled in like the program or at least peeked about it without their parents being like, yo, that's a terrible fucking mistake?
So
there's a video here of a like this is one of the parents, I believe, right? And she was blocked.
Yeah, so the original flyer said that the event was open to, I forgot exactly the wording, but it says something along the lines of like anyone that's really interested in learning more about, these services that we're offering. I think it's the other flyer. There was two versions of the flyer that were released.
Yeah, I remember seeing the other one.
Yeah, so in the other version, it'll say that, it says that anyone, it literally says open to anyone.
Yeah.
Right. So there was a sign up and registration link. So, a lot of us did sign up. We kind of had a two-pronged strategy where, we were, some of us were staying outside. Some of us were trying to get inside. So this person in particular, Trudy, she is with an organization called We Are Not Your Soldiers. And she had signed up. We had gotten there early. Like the event started at 4. We were already outside by 3:30. And Trudy was like one of the first to try to get inside. So, before, they really started like cracking down, like she was able to get like pretty much inside. And what, there's a video that, you can either play this one. There's another video that I think is really good. That's on Twitter, where she just describes what she saw when she went inside, and we'll let her do the talking. This is the good one. It's very succinct.
there early, and I said that I wanted to get in. I wanted to take notes. I'm involved with an organization. I didn't tell them we are
Yeah,
not
the audio only
associates.
plays
I
on the
wanted
left
to try to find a
side.
teacher. A giant sign of AOC, a giant picture when you walk in the lobby.
Propaganda.
Two current
And it's on purpose. It's to idolize these people. And
Yeah, exactly,
it's sharp on them.
It's to idolize. It's to literally idolize them.
It's
yeah.
because that like politicians are the best celebrities. It's basically
while I was there.
Mythological
Also,
people now.
they were handing this out. U.S. Naval Academy, U.S. Air
Sick.
Force, U.S. Military
Sick.
Academy, Merchant Marines, Coast Guard Academy. And so it is obvious the whole lobby was filled with uniformed people,
Sick.
with cops, and with officers of the military. There were Army people. They were bringing in all of the papers. Shame to AOC to connect with this. Unfortunately, they told me that they changed the rules. At first, they said I could get in once all the students were seated. But then they said I had to leave.
Like I said, like I did not think, like especially when she was first running, that she was gonna be this bad.
No, and that's where we kind of like put
this
on the
is
tinfoil hat and
completely
like,
shameless.
was she CIA? Like, go through that rabbit hole and like you kind of like
she actually gets
was she an op? Like
in
maybe she
her-
was an op. Like she's still like one of my mutuals. He had a banger where he went down that rabbit hole, fucking rap game Ever Bernays, and like she actually put out a response on Twitter saying there's some people who seem to think that I was CIA and I wasn't a bartender, blah blah blah. Well, just to let you know, that's not true. And it's like at that point, like, come on, like, I don't know, like if you feel like you still have to put out stuff like that, I like have seen enough where like it seems to me where she's doing all the right things to make it into an op.
What was she talking about here? Where she's now she's trying to defend her railroad strike, as if she's like, don't even get me started on that.
Again, it's that gaslighting. She just begins with the gaslighting. Come on, you believe that?
It's the patronizing and the condescending attitude that bothers me the most. You're gonna give me this is a person that fucking votes for you, and you're saying don't even get me started on that facepalm. You should be explaining shit to your constituents and your policy and why you're doing things and why you're breaking a railroad strike. You should have to explain to that. And she actually explained. Someone actually asked her if she was.
Yeah, that was from his post.
And she's like, she makes a joke. She's like, she's like, it's easier for people to believe this fantasy than to believe that a waitress and a daughter of two parents who themselves were born into extreme poverty could actually get elected into Congress.
So this is like the definition of like a straw man right here.
Yeah.
She chooses like the fanatical, because she'll choose something that has some true elements in it. And
she'll take an extreme position and then make it out to be everybody who's against her.
Yeah, essentially. And this is like a really good example of it. So yeah, she snuck in through a side door to avoid us. There was a point in time where we split up into two groups. So we had one group blocking, or not blocking, but like standing near the entrance that we saw her go into. And then half of us kind of stayed in the front where we originally were. But this is a huge high school. Right. It's big enough for 4,000 people. So it's a massive school with multiple entrances. No way could we,
yeah, exactly,
all of them. And this is a huge building. So she ended up sneaking out through some back exit that we weren't able to really cover. And I guess someone from AOC's team or AOC herself ended up sending out a Marine colonel to come outside and address us in lieu of AOC. So
what a joke, man.
Yep.
I had that. Yep. This is crazy.
Will you let him talk?
At least he's honest, this guy.
Let him talk.
Not your children, our children. There are other options in there. There's representatives from the city of New York. There's representatives from different colleges in New York.
That's awesome.
And not AOC.
If that was true, AOC would have said that.
Go into the military.
If that was true, AOC would have said that. Not once did AOC mention that.
That's why there's other options in there for the kids. Every
They all have their scripts handed to them.
And we were there
exactly.
before the event started. So we saw everyone going in and out. And it was military recruiters and people wearing military uniforms.
Why draw that sort of attention? Like how? I mean, I know the recruitment is like really, really low. It's like Vietnam low, but like still, they're trotting out AOC. It seems like it's putting a big target.
Well, you know, it's low, but it's actually like affecting like the most like poorest communities the most because a lot of people who are still anti-war, like just they have to go in for either education or job purposes.
So I also want to point out Rosa Maria in the behind the colonel to show you the people that were at this demonstration. Rosa Maria is a long time Bronx activist. She is not an outside agitator, and she's not somebody in there that she's not somebody that you would want to paint as a predator like AOC did to not only her but to all of us.
They're like literally people from her community just like speaking out. Yeah, that's
exactly
so offensive. That's terrible. It's like just like taking your vote for granted.
As I was invited. This is what I do. I live in the 14th district. I live right here. I live right here in the Bronx. Public school educated. PS 106, junior high school 127, and the great DeWitt Clinton High School, class in 1971. Okay?
Yeah, but these were better in school back then.
So, yes, it was. It was an all-boys school, and now I'm proud to say it's co-ed. So I was asked to be on the selection committee for the 14th Congressional District, where we review the applications for those high school students that want to serve and want to go into one of the service academies.
So basically the military. So basically you're signing up kids to go to get slaughtered.
So he's like, kids just naturally just want to join the military. And
it's always reframed as like these are opportunities. They're services for you.
And the way that AOC's office, like the statement that they released in response to the Democracy Now! Video, they paint their this event as like a diversity and opportunities event, and we're just helping out the poor Black and brown youth of the Bronx, make their way.
So cynical. It's so cynical.
It's elitist, and we're trying to break these elitist barriers and give them the opportunities to join the military.
So that's the way it is now. We're gonna start seeing who's next. We're gonna see Pramila Jayapal or freaking Cory Bush or somebody freaking doing these things, and they're gonna call them like
not
identity drives. They're just.
It's student services.
Who knows?
See, it's good for you. It's.
But like they're having to rebrand the military because the numbers are so bad. This is the fucking horseshit.
So look at the specific wording too. So this definitely was looked at was kind of like help. A lawyer definitely helped draft this because she specifically uses there were no military enlistment officers there. Notice the specific language that she uses. So she's trying to get out of this by using a technicality like, well, they weren't military enlistment officers. All right, so they're probably called something else. They're called fucking recruiters. Okay,
yeah, they're recruiters. Exactly.
Why didn't you say there was no recruiters there?
Yeah, no. I think this is her just trying to score some penalty points on you guys. It's just like score out on a technicality. Just be like, oh, that goal never happened. Sorry,
Just deny, even though
there's no
everybody
way.
knows better. Just deny.
Yeah.
That's just awful. It's shameless. And she'll do it again.
Absolutely shameless.
Right. So yeah, I mean, look, look. I don't want to only make it about AOC. We had other goals while we were there as well. We really tried our best to educate students on alternatives to the military. So military recruiters typically will use seeing the world, traveling the world, or free college as a hook to get students in. So we really wanted to inform students of alternatives. So we had a representative from an organization called IFCO, Pastors for Peace, and they're getting the word out on opportunities to study in Cuba, to go to medical school in Cuba for free. A lot of people don't know that that is an option for them. And there were.
I have a friend that has a dentist in Mexico. Which is cheaper.
There's some 32 countries or so that offer free university or a very, very low cost university degree. So we had representatives there that were talking about those opportunities. And in addition to that, we also wanted to educate the students on the violence, especially the sexual violence that occurs. So yes, I think this was a really good way to further expose AOC's hypocrisy, because she's been exposed for so long at this point. This is just
right.
There's
no surprise there. Yeah, add it to the list. Exactly.
This was really just like a step up to like the shame meter.
Yeah, exactly. This was, her mask has been on for a long time at this point, but so yeah, this helped, I think, more people really see her true intentions and her collaboration with the military, her collaboration with the police state.
So you don't think necessarily her like gaslighting is as effective as it used to be?
Well, I think she's still pretty effective. Again, she's more so like a celebrity at this point than, because she doesn't really like talk about how she votes unless she gets criticized. Like, right. I don't know if people are really understanding.
No, she has one of the worst records in Congress when it comes to legislation, because she doesn't.
She shouldn't be a politician. She should just, like, honestly, she can get a job on The View like that. She can go on any TV show, and she could be an absolute all-star. Go be on CNN or something instead.
So when she won office, like within months of her winning office, I remember seeing an article where her mother was interviewed, and her mother said, like, AOC's been wanting to be president since she was a teenager. Like, I really do think that she is like truly like really wants to be like, president, and she's willing to do anything to she's an opportunist. So she's just saying whatever she needs to say to get
sell out.
And she's willing to lie, as she did in her Instagram live video, in order to protect her own career aspirations to one day be president. So, I think that it's really important to, continue, exposing AOC, exposing people like her, because she's not the only one. The whole squad are. Bernie Sanders are. Right? They're all, careerists and opportunists. But not only that, like, the last thing is, we really hope that, for anybody here listening, that you're inspired to hold your own demonstrations, your own protests whenever you hear about military recruiters in high schools, because we know that military recruiters are not going to rich schools. They're not going to private schools, right? They really are targeting these low income Black and brown schools. This school in particular is 95% Black and Hispanic. It is also a majority female school. It is a performing arts school. So it's really insidious to bring all of these military recruiters to this school using your using your celebrity image as a draw, rather than bringing, performing arts schools, theater programs.
Right,
There's so
exactly.
many good ones in New York City. There's Pratt, there's NYU, there's School of Visual Arts, right? So why aren't they there, AOC? Why aren't you using your star power to bring, things that are relevant to what the kids are learning? So it's just
She
really
can have an anti-war rally tomorrow if she wanted to.
Yeah, her, Bernie, all of them. They could round up 1 million people easily if they wanted to.
But they're not going to. So the sooner that people realize,
yes, exactly.
the better. Let's dump these politicians, and really let's just organize in the streets. Let's take the streets. My theory of change is that we really need to get a mass movement into the streets to block the flow of capital. What that means is that we got to block roads.
General strike.
We got to block roads. We got to block airports. We got to block seaports, right? So once you start, hitting them in their pockets, that's really when you start getting, politicians, business owners to really actually respond to your demands.
I wanted to ask you actually, I'm sure you've seen a lot of these like direct intervention videos on Twitter where whether it's like Jose Vega and the name is slipping me, New York.
Yeah, I forget, but yeah, we saw it.
Yeah, like either Jose Vega or like Medea Benjamin. Have you seen like you spoke to Medea Benjamin and Senator Blinken?
She interrupted somebody because I know she's done that so many times at this point.
No, but like just yesterday she we showed it earlier. She directly confronted Senator Blinken.
Okay.
About funding of.
I haven't seen the video.
Yeah, but what do you think about the like effectiveness of these like direct confrontation actions? Do you think that it bothers them a lot? Like you've seen the reaction from AOC here, having to like really come out and be like super defensive and like really change like a 180. Do you think it bothers them?
Yeah, no, it definitely bothers them because it exposes them, and they don't want to be exposed. They want to be able to, carry out their agendas, which is just to serve their, serve their corporate owners, right? Serve the military industrial complex. So they want to do that without drawing attention. But so I do support the disruptions and the heckling that we've seen a sharp increase in, because I think that it really draws attention to their what they're actually doing with their power, and what they're not doing with their power. So I think it's great to highlight their inconsistencies, to highlight their hypocrisies, but I think that it also needs to go beyond that. Like, I think that's one thing that we could do, but it shouldn't be the only focus. Like I said, I think that we really need to just build movements and grow. When I got this this idea, like it was 3-4 people. We were like, hey, let's get together, let's start this, let's just try to build this movement in the Bronx. And we have like, I think 40-50 people on our list.
Wow, nice.
So, that people that we can email, that we can call out and call and bring out to demonstrations. So, whoever's listening out there, try to build an anti-war, anti-imperialist group in your community, no matter where it is. You don't have to be in a big city. Right, you're gonna find like-minded people and just go out there with a sign, right? Like I was on the mic, saying, speaking truth, speaking facts. U.S. Navy, Biden administration, they blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Go out there, and you'll, believe it or not, you will find somebody that's like, yes, that did happen. Take their number, take their email, stay in touch, invite them out, hey, call them up and say, hey, let's go do this, let's go do that. Right, that's how you build the movement, and I think that we really need to do that. And really, I agree that there's a lot of like left infighting. I caught that part before I joined, There's a lot of sectarianism, right? So yeah, maybe if you don't want to join one of these bigger organizations, just start your own or do your own thing. Or maybe you don't even have to call it an organization. Just say, hey, we're a group of concerned citizens from XYZ, and we're really out here to show our opposition to, you know, what the US government is doing in our name.
Right.
That's why it's like so fascinating when I go to these rallies and I see like all these different organizations banding together. Like I even had a shower thought of like if we had like some sort of like text network where like really kind of like alerted like all of these different. But it was like a network of like unions or something like that. But do you have
it gets
people
tracked though.
Yeah. Do you have people outside of the Bronx that are involved in your organization?
So most of us are from the Bronx. We have a few from Harlem, because the Bronx and Harlem were like neighbors. So we work very closely with folks in like Upper Manhattan area. But that's really where most of our people are coming. Most of our folks that are joining us are coming from. People that really want to organize, like I said, in these like working class communities. So, you know, but there are, you know, I'm also part of another organization called the International Action Center, which is based in Manhattan. So, you know, I will, you know, I do go down to the city for actions and demonstrations, but, you know, my passion really is just to organize in the Bronx. Like, I think that we should all be doing that in our communities, and we can't just, you know, do demonstrations in Manhattan or DC, right? Because it's like, that's not really where you're going to build, you know, that's not where the most oppressed are. That's not where immigrant communities are. That's the spaces that you really need to be in to, you know, because those are the people that really will be receptive to that message. They'll say, you know, when you're talking about, you know, energy bills going up, rent going up, you know, we're poor and working class communities, they'll get it. They're like, yeah, like that's happening to me, and you got to help them understand why that's happening, right? And understand that our enemies, you know, our enemy is not Putin, our enemy is not China, our enemy is not Russia. Our enemy is everyone in Congress. It's you know, whoever is occupying the White House at the moment, right? Those are our enemies, because the reason that we have the problems that we have is because of their decisions and their service to Wall Street and the military industrial complex.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
It's direct. It's purposeful complacency. It's bad.
Absolutely.
But it's getting close to 1 a.m. here on EST.
Yep.
And that was our last segment, so we're gonna close out here tonight. But Richie, I just want to ask if you want to plug anything before we close out here. Dan, you want to shout out or like you know, invite people to join any organization, or how can people get involved? What's the next step?
Yeah, so you know, you can follow BX Anti-War on Instagram or on Twitter. Feel free to follow myself. You know, I organize mainly with Bronx Anti-War Coalition, but also with International Action Center. Not what I want to plug. I just really want to put out the message that, you know, just try to do something in your own community, no matter how small it may be. It doesn't have to be a big demo. It doesn't have to be a big protest.
So important.
Like, it could be a banner drop, right? So go to like a freeway or a highway and just put, you know, abolish NATO on a big bed sheet and just hang it over a freeway, right? Just so that like people can see that they're not the only ones that feel this way. Because when you start understanding the truth behind this, you know, imperialist war machine, right? You may start feeling a little bit isolated because you don't, because there's so much like propaganda, and the
so
gaslighting,
much.
right? From
It's all feds online. Yeah.
Exactly. So just doing something small like that, you're gonna find people that are gonna say, I agree with you, right? And you want to get their numbers, as I said before, connect with them, and really let's just grow a movement, because time is running out. I don't have
It's running out.
We've all heard that message before, and it's very much truth, and we really got to act. So do something in your community if you can.
Appreciate you, man.
Most people, especially the activists that I talk to in real life, they're not bickering about this shit, this whole gender war culture bullshit. We have significant economic and geopolitical issues that are on the table right now that affect not one marginalized group but everybody. So I think it's time to. I think we really need to set our priorities straight. I think it's time we stop placating these people, and we do need more of direct action and direct organizing, because I'm really impressed that you started with a 4 or 5 people organization, grew it up to 50, and you can just see how things can change over time. That's why I said earlier. You have to always ask yourself, what's the next step? One rally, just one March 18th rally is that's not enough. You have to go. We always have to ask yourself, what's the next step? Things like what Medea Benjamin did with Senator Blinken, and I'll DM you that later. But direct action, direct organizing, and if even if it's your small town, even Midwest community, you can get something together, and you could look what happened here in the Bronx, up to 50 people, and
100% agree. I agree with all of that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
That's the people power. But hope you guys have a good night.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks for having me.
But it was awesome meeting you, Rishi.
Yes.
And I'll hit you up for video help too. I was talking about that, but
sounds like a plan. All right, have a good night.